All right, everybody. It is Monday night, and you are back with us for MMA Mondays and your favorite hosts of the Pride Rules MMA podcast. We are sponsored by 80K Fightwear, Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu, Madama Jiu-Jitsu, and 2 Minute Warning Sports 360. I am your host, the Reverend Tommy D, joined by just one of my co-hosts tonight. Chris is off philandering somewhere, so I am with the genius, El Professor, Omar
Thank you.
Sangarima.
Thank you.
What's up, amigo?
I'm blushing now. You sure know how to treat a boy right with an intro. Nothing. I'm still like in a coma from the amount of fights that we had this weekend. It's a golden age of MMA. I love Pride, but Jesus Christ. Same night, two great events.
The funny thing is, the numbers haven't come out yet, but I'm thinking that Bellator probably did better numbers than the UFC just because it was free.
Yes.
And the UFC card was kind of,
top heavy?
I don't want to say lackluster because it wasn't.
No, but it was top heavy though. Like I would say, like what else?
Yeah.
I love fights. I watch fights all day. We'll watch bums fighting for sandwiches, but it was a little top heavy after the first two. The main and the co-main. Who else were you super excited to see?
Yeah, I mean the real fight fan was excited, for the card itself, but I guarantee you people were watching both. But Omar, we had some news this week.
Massive.
We had some news this week. This was kind of unplanned, but I think it's time we do a little eulogy, folks.
Oh boy, the Reverend.
What do you think, Omar?
The Reverend's in the building. Well, you take us to church, sir. I'm a good Christian. I go where the Reverend says.
All right. So everybody, if we could just bow our heads for a moment. Just bow our heads. In the name of Stipe Miocic, Randy Couture, Hoyce and Henzo Gracie, we are gathered here today to bury the career. Wait a minute. This isn't a sad thing.
Oh, boy.
This isn't a sad thing. No, this isn't sad.
Okay.
No. Guys, this isn't sad. That's right, folks. Conor McGregor is being stripped. That's right. Everybody you know and love, Conor McGregor is being stripped.
Oh
That's right.
Wait, no, that's a reel. Sorry.
We're just dancing here. We're dancing. We're loving it. It's about time.
God.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Get the river dance going. If you can see me right now in the studio, I'm dancing in my chair.
Oh my God.
That's right. We're going to say goodbye to all those Conor McGregor fans. Hopefully he takes Artem Lobov with him. Woo! UFC 223. We have the real championship fight between Tony and Habib. Oh, yeah. Get down. We're here celebrating the worst champion in UFC history. The only man to simultaneously win 2 belts and have them both stripped without ever having a defense.
Good Lord. You're going in right now with this, and I applaud you.
Just keep dancing. We're going to keep dancing for a minute. We got to let this go. I'm swinging my shillelagh right now.
Oh, hey, hopefully you got a closed door. If that's actually happening.
What a fucking disappointment to mixed martial arts. What a disappointment. Don't you think?
I can agree there. I can agree to mixed martial arts for sure. He's getting his paper, and he's going to be a whatever. Same as Ronda, in WWE eventually, hopefully. But for MMA, yeah. Because I feel like if he had kept on working on his takedown defense, he had skills. You at least got to give him that. He had legitimate, good skills that he could have built on, and I think he would have done well.
But But you and I were right when we said to Chris and we said to Carl that he was never coming back after the Floyd fight. And everybody told us, no, you're crazy. You know, he's the champ. He's got to come back. He wants to fight. That's what he wants to do. No.
They called us nuts,
No.
right? They kind of clowned both of us in terms of, like, you know. But
yes.
Would you? I don't know. I'm not totally mad at him in a way. Tommy, like, I can't 100% go there. Like, you give me $100 million.
Here's my problem with it. Here's my problem with it, though. You'll talk a ton of trash on Twitter, which he continued to do. He talked trash about Tony. He teased the Tony fight. Then he's talking shit about Khabib and talking. Meanwhile, he's sitting at home. And just like that whole, I'm going to take time off with my family. I've said it before, and I stand by this statement again. Okay? He did not take that time off and then just decide to start boxing for Floyd Mayweather in 3 months.
No.
He's not that stupid.
No.
You know what I mean? He was training the entire time, waiting for the deal to finally go through. You know, it's just, he made a joke out of two divisions. They hot-shotted him, as I'm watching the 25th anniversary of Raw. They hot-shotted him. He was the poster boy. Everything was about Conor. All this money. And yes, he made the company money. But you're not making the company money now. So Dana White, I'm surprised. I am surprised Dana White is doing this. I really am. I'm very surprised.
He's opening up his own boxing promotion, and he's going to have Conor carry the flag there. I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen at the end of 2018 or Q1 2019. You know, and
I don't know
and
how.
I think
you know what?
Yeah, come on.
I don't know how
Too
successful
much money.
that'll be.
But
I don't know how successful
it'll be a flash in the pan at least, Tommy. Like he'll be able to dupe a bunch of folks for at least one more big money fight, and you know I would work my entire life to have a small business that would make me $250 million. That I would obviously have to divide. But if I was just a promoter for one boxing match, Jesus Christ. He fights Pacquiao. He fights Floyd again. Come on, Tom. You know this. People will buy this.
Yeah, but the thing is,
agree with it.
He went head-to-head with boxing with the Conor thing, and the only reason why that went off is because Showtime was in on it. Now, I don't think Showtime is going to be in on it if Dana wants to start his own boxing promotion. Think about all those other promoters that are out there, Bob Arum, and I'll even say the golden fuck.
You know what? We want to trade him. We want to have a racial trade. He's up on the chopping block. If maybe the Asian congregation or the white congregation wants to take him, because I mean, at least learn how to break off a judge a little better, finesse the public a little,
or break
easier.
off more than one.
Please, to at least cover the tracks, man. But I don't know. There's just too much cash, man. I could see it being like a Jay-Z situation when he came in, when he started doing the Rock Nation Sports, and he started signing big names. Who's to say that a Lomachenko won't go, hey, listen, only thing that I'm missing, I have all the skills. I can beat anybody around my weight in the world still. Who's to say? Oh, let me sign with McGregor Promotions, or maybe let me sign with McGregor White Promotions or whatever. White McGregor Promotions. I didn't want to go there, but
yeah, that's
yeah, that's there. They need to work on the marketing and the logo, I guess. But wouldn't you? Like, what if an Anthony Joshua goes, you know what? The last thing I'm missing, like all these stars. The only guy is that crazy, like say a Tyson Fury doesn't need help promoting himself. He needs help not doing cocaine, but that's a different story. But how many real, like, crazy stars are there in the game? There's a ton of talent in boxing. You and I both followed enough, Tommy, I think, that we can say, hey,
sure there is, but I'm sure that the promoters that they're currently with, if Dana White and Conor McGregor start throwing their hat in that ring, they're going to start paying these guys more. They already have they're already established where they're at. So they're going to start paying them more. But like I was saying with this whole McGregor bullshit, is they gave him carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. And I seriously think the reason why that happened is because the Fertitta brothers were not there. Let's not bullshit and say he had such a tough road to get to any of the championships that he's gotten. Please. Let's not, because it's bullshit. I was watching the old Joe Rogan episode where with Joey Diaz when he started Khabib. Remember?
yeah, Khabib.
Yeah, and when he sat there, he goes, and he was talking about Conor, like because the UFC was giving Conor bullshit fights. He goes, yeah, Dennis Siva's ready. Even though Frankie Edgar's sitting there healthy and waiting, we're going to give him Dennis Siva. He's got nothing to do. That was the man's. That was the road the man climbed to get the opportunity to fight Jose Aldo. And then Aldo stepped out. And they gave him a Chad Mendes that was sitting on the couch. Didn't have anything going on. Once again, Frankie Edgar was waiting in the wings. They didn't give him that fight. We all know why they didn't give him that fight. And Mark Henry has even said it on the Anik and Florian podcast that Frankie was ready for that fight. They were giving Frankie that fight. And Conor's team and parts of the UFC, I'm thinking Dana White, said no and gave it to Chad Mendes. So he didn't have the toughest climb to get to where he got. Like his toughest fight before that was Dustin Poirier. I mean, Max Holloway on a tear now.
But that was not a Dustin Poirier like he is now. I think right now he'd even give Conor some crazy trouble. Right now,
right.
It's a different animal. I think he's healthier at that weight class. But I think you hit the nail on the head 100% perfectly, Tommy, with the fact that the Fertittas weren't there. But take it a step further. That being the reason why Conor was given the carte blanche. I think, though, that one more aspect of the argument needs to be teased out, and that's the fact that, well, they weren't there, so who was? WME. WME needed Conor to do what he did in order to bolster an underperforming asset, bro. We've all heard the Dave Meltzer, shout out to him. That dude always has, I mean, you can talk about the golden snitch all you want. Meltzer always seems to have his ear everywhere, all right? He should run the CIA, for fuck's sake. He knows things before they happen.
Not just in UFC, and pro wrestling, too. In
pro wrestling as well. The dude, and he's one of those guys that can produce enough quality content where, like, people pay for memberships and shit, and God bless him. But that's rare in the day of the internet. However, he's coming out going, they did almost close to half. Their numbers are just abysmal this year. Without Conor running shows within the umbrella. The year prior, Conor was on his come up, on his meteoric rise, and they were able to then convince an outside party to buy. Now they're in a bad way, and they got to renegotiate a content deal on TV or a distributing platform. But they let Conor do that because he brought them to the big show. He got them over the hump. Them and Lesnar, a little Ronda Rousey thrown in there when she was still on, a great bankable star. So I think that's what they did, man. Everybody knew what they were getting in bed with, is what I kind of want to say. Like, as pure fans, you're gonna always, you and I are gonna be like, hi, I get it, but dude, they knew what they were signing up for. They made a deal with, a mild-mannered devil, but a devil nonetheless. And it paid off for them somewhat, but it wasn't sustainable, as we're seeing now. Like, who the hell is a pay-per-view draw this year? Meltzer says almost nobody. So what are you going to do? Strip them and try to build up other stars? That's the smart play, but I don't think it's going to pay off right now in the short term. I want to watch it, but it's not going to be a big draw.
Things have gotten to the point where now UFC is raising their prices for HD pay-per-views to $64.
That's silly, terrible, silly business. There's just no everything in my business mind, whatever you want to, the little bit of business knowledge that I have screams that that's a ridiculous idea. If your product is doing worse, you're going to jack prices up. Okay. Can you give the illusion of higher, classier, pricier value? You don't have to sell 3 million Balenciaga bags. I don't know why that was on my mind, but it's still a luxury item. You don't have to sell because you can sell them at crazy prices. But what if your sales take a shit? You either have to restructure the narrative and get people to buy in and think that there's an allure or a panache, or you go down market. I don't see this, it's pricier, so there's not going to be that natural equivocation between, it went up in price, so it must be a better value. The fuck? If anything, it opens up the door for Bellator to come in and be like, listen, we'll give you an equivalent somewhat product for half the price, or $35, whereas before they were demanding $29. So I don't know, it pulls up the competition. Fighters don't get paid more.
Yeah, that's just the whole thing. It's like, they're boosting up the pay-per-view sales, so that's going to go to the fighters. No, it's not. These fighters have contracts.
Way. No, but come on, you and I both know exactly.
This is for WME. This is for WME to try and cover that nut.
The mortgage payment
that they put themselves
The mortgage payment, basically, that they have. That they mortgaged their souls for, like $4 billion fucking dollars. Even, let's say they had a tremendous, ridiculous, like very, very good year, even at half the sales, and they did $1 billion somehow, right? Just a miracle. Come on, man. Come on.
Well, I know Dana says that 2017 was their best year, but statistically, no, it wasn't.
But and you know what? A little back of the napkin, and I'll stop harping on this because I don't want to lose too many fans and getting lost in the business thoughts. I could do this all day, but back of the napkin, usually a rough estimate of what you can value a company as, like say if you're going to go in and try to buy a going concern, is 3 times earnings. That's a good beginner of the conversation there, right? So if there was $4.4 billion, earnings are going to be what? 4.4 divided by 3. So you're telling me that they're bringing in $1.5 billion a year, that year for the banner year?
I don't
cut
think
that in half.
Close.
I don't think it was even close to that. There was rumors of the fact that it was artificially inflated, and plus, you just sold almost half the pay-per-views. Pay-per-view buy rates, and your biggest star, you rented out to another promotion, so it drove most of the money there. And it's in a bad spot, bro. This is just not good.
Yeah. And the fact that, as we're going to get to the events on Saturday night, Bellator's event was already set for that night. I remember talking about that date 6 months ago.
Yep.
When they announced that Rory was going to be fighting for the title, and I was making a joke like, well, we got to look forward to that in January.
You said it was holy shit. Exactly.
UFC decided to go head-to-head with them, and I think that was stupid.
That was a horrible move.
That was so stupid.
That was a terrible move.
Because if they got 300,000 pay-per-view buys, that could be a win. But I don't think they did.
Plus the changeover to the Paramount Network business, that all that Viacom money was flexing to make the debut of their sporting property on a rebranded network was going to be heavy. I knew more about what was going on with the Bellator card. Like I always try to come away with it being like, listen, if I wasn't balls deep in the fight game, which one would I have known about more? Honestly, I was hearing and seeing more about Bellator, and that's a many times more billion-dollar company than a WME, or at least than a UFC was bought for. Viacom money's deep. All right, and they were banking on it, and I think it paid off.
Oh, absolutely. You look at it this way: it's free TV, right? But it's cable.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna get viewers because there are people who watch Spike, the Paramount Network now, religiously because of the shows that they had on there.
Absolutely.
So if you're a combat sports fan, you're going to watch that. You're going to watch it. I remember watching Bellator, like we've always talked about, was when it was tournament format. I loved it when it was tournament format. It was fair. I mean, it's still fair with them now. They don't do what the UFC does, and it goes by your Twitter followers and how much shit you talk. If you're the guy in line, you're the guy in line. Like Rory McDonald just didn't go into the organization and get a title shot. He didn't just get a title shot. He went in there. He had to fight a top guy to get his title shot. So let's jump on with the Bellator first, bro. Aaron fucking Pico with a body shot. Was that a liver shot?
That was a soul shot, bro. Like whatever the hell. Like it was just.
I think he made Boss Rutan proud with that one.
I think Boss Rutan smiled just naturally. He just kind of was like, yo. He cried. He got feeling back in that hand that he's had trouble with for years. Like, dude. I don't know, man. And what's crazy to me is that I'm so excited that Bellator is now bringing him up the right way.
He didn't fight a can. He did not fight a can. Shane Crutchen was a game opponent. I think he was on a pretty good fight win streak until he fought Aaron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point, anybody that Aaron fights is going to be more of a veteran because, you know, the kid's only got 3 fights now. But, God damn, man, he sat in that pocket and just threw that body shot, and that guy dropped like a ton of bricks. For a 145-pound guy throwing leather like that, I think that 145 division, it's going to be his in 2 fights. The way he looked in 2 fights, he's going to be fighting for that belt.
Well, who's going to stop him, bro?
I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think he should get his first fight back.
What,
They
run
should give him that guy.
If he fights but isn't that fight at 155? The first one that he fought at?
Was it 155?
I think so, and I think he came down and everybody was going, "Hey, he's finally back in the division that he deserves to be in." Maybe when he gets his man muscles, you know, when he gets a little older, you know, gets sick of cutting the weight.
I thought it was 145. I mean, you're probably right.
I think so. I think and he was already talking. What was it? The old Brandon Vera truism. He was almost living it. He's going, you know, don't talk about 2 belts before you get 1. So he was trying to do the one thing. He's like, I'm gonna be a king of everybody. I'm a man. I'm not a fucking baby. So he was just trying to run around and just, you know what I'm saying? So I think he dropped down a little bit. And and this is the old codger in me, the old fight codger, is I saw more head movement. I almost, like, he was vicious. He did go for it, but he just seemed calmer in there to me. Because even the last win, yes, he destroyed the guy. I don't want to be a hater, Tom. But you saw the same thing I did. I was like, yo, at 155, he walks through those punches that he did in his first win, not this one, the one prior. And we have some problems. You know, I was just nervous. I remember watching that fight, and I was like, oh, shit. Because I want to see him succeed. I want to see how good he can be. You know? I want to see greatness, and I think he can achieve pretty high levels of it with his pedigree. So he looked much more composed. He looked just, I don't know, like more like a professional. He's getting used to it more on this stage. And Jesus Christ, did he feel comfortable enough to whip leather to the body like that? You know, you got to know, Tommy, that you have that type of power. You're just,
I mean, you could tell he's been working with Freddie Roach. You could tell that.
God, Jesus Christ, man. Good God.
You could tell he's been working with Freddie Roach.
Because body shots in MMA with your hands can sometimes be a dicey proposition. You know what I mean? With small gloves, you start going to the body, potentially you can pay the price with a counter to the face. And it doesn't have to be more technical. It doesn't have to be even like that crazy, stupendous power behind it. But, you know, That's why there hasn't been a lot of body shots that way. Plus the whole grappling aspect of it, you lower your hands. What are you going to do? He was so confident in his power. I guarantee you he's done that to people in training. Just to know, the way he set his feet, the way he walked off, he knew. He knew all.
Well, you see, the thing with him, which is amazing, who's taking him down?
Jesus.
You know what I mean?
I don't think.
Who's taking him down?
You know what I'm saying?
He's going to throw the body shot. Okay, you're going to shoot for a takedown? Fine.
Yeah, that's a really solid point. Or I mean, he's not afraid of anybody. In terms of who's going to out wrestle his ass. You know?
Yeah, and he's been working with Eddie and 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, so I'm sure he's more confident in his ground game now. So he is definitely a problem for that division. I'm excited to see when he's going to fight next. I hope they put him on the next fight card. I hope they put him on the next one coming up because, I mean, this fight was so short. I don't want to say fast track him, but you got to keep this kid active. I know he's young. He's only 21. You don't want to put that many miles on him yet, but you got to test him. You got to keep testing him. You know, if you want this kid to be, because, I mean, this kid could be a champion there, and I hope that Dana is paying attention, Dana White, because Aaron Pico could definitely fight in the UFC. I don't want to see him in the UFC when Frankie becomes the reigning champion, but the kid's only 21 years old, so he's got time.
He's got time, and he's only going to improve. The sky's the limit for this kid. Every epithet that you could throw in a positive light on this guy is there. I mean, I can't imagine. Like he can only legally buy booze this year. That's crazy to me. Right? You know, he's doing things. He's wrestling at an international level at 16 years old. You and I both know how ridiculous that is. If you don't know, think about whatever your favorite sport is to whoever's listening, and then think about, okay, I'm gonna go and do it at the Olympic level at 16, and then check yourself because it's not fucking wrestling, which is a fuck ton tougher at the Olympic level. So go fuck yourself. So I think there's no limit to what this guy can achieve in the sport, and I'm glad that they seem to be, you know, trying to bring him up the right way. If he was in the UFC right now, they'd have him fighting killers and animals right now. Just that's the UFC is just weird that way. I'm glad that they're not doing it.
Well, we'll get to that stuff because we're on the same page with that. We'll get to that towards the end of the show. But Michael Chandler, what
Jesus.
a war! What a war!
Chandler enjoys this. It seems like
he does.
I mean, Chandler likes the grind here, and that's scary to anybody fighting Michael Chandler. You know, when he doesn't break his leg, he's okay.
He's another one. Why is he not in the UFC? I would love to see Chandler Alvarez 4 in the UFC.
That'd be better than the Gaethje fight. Anybody who's seen Alvarez Chandler previous fights knows how crazy of a matchup that was.
Oh, come on. Gaethje, that was fight of the year, bro. They got fight of the year.
I understand that, but still, Chandler and Alvarez, I think, had the combination of being very evenly matched. They're both game as fuck, and there was more than a little bad blood in between the two of them. I think, deep down, there was just a disdain that you need if you're gonna be giving somebody that sort of the business, you know. I think.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Chandler deserves to be in the UFC. I don't know what they're holding off on. I mean, I know he's contracted under Bellator, but I think Dana should look to bring him in there. I mean, that was such a great fight, and it was just a grinding fight. And honestly, it set the tone for the next fight. You know, because it was one of those, you're a pro wrestling fan. How does this match, how are we going to top a tables, ladders, and chair match that went 45 minutes of just blood and gore? And then
Flames.
You have to follow that.
Fire. Animals.
Rory McDonald and Douglas Lima. Holy shit.
I mean,
I'm telling you, for just a fraction, Douglas Lima made Rory look like he didn't belong in there. You know, because when he was the calf kick, like what we talked about with Shorty.
Mm-hmm.
The calf kick. You saw the effects of the calf kick that night with Rory's shin.
It looks like he had a quad on his shin, bro. Like it looks like his shin was doing squats. Just his shin. And it got swole. That was insane.
When he kicked his leg out, I mean, I know it was towards the end of the round. Well, I mean, there was like, maybe 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in the round, and Lima got on top and was just blasting him. I'm like, Rory's done. That's it. And then the start of I think it was the third round, he went to throw the leg kick, boom, Rory took him down. And then Rory does what Rory does best. And he did it for 2 more rounds. It's so wonderful to see him with a championship belt. He definitely deserved another crack at it in the UFC because that fight that he had with Robbie Lawler, I still watch that when bad mood. Because that fight just even keels me. Like, that's the kind of fight that you watch when you're shit-faced, hammered, drunk, and you want to see violence. You know? And it was so nice to see Rory finally getting a championship. And I think we're going to see Rory and Douglas Lima again because Lima's been the champ for so long. I think he deserves a rematch. And I'm going to be just as invested in that one as I was in this one. What did you think of that fight as a whole?
It's one of those fights where you step back as a fight fan and it's one of those situations that make you measure like, okay, I am enjoying the shit out of this as a fight fan. I can't believe that this is going back and forth. There was high drama, each side, won and lost in different aspects. But then as a human being, you got to look back and be like, holy shit, these people are leaving years of their life inside that cage. And especially like Lima got beat up too, but how many times can Rory do something like this? I know he's young. I know he's tough. I know Canadians are built a different way. The PBR gets them, but bro, like, there's he's not going to be able to tie his shoes when he's 40. I don't give a shit. Like, what happens between now and then? His nose needed a solid year to recover. Thankfully, it held up. I mean, relatively speaking.
Well, no, he broke it in that fight.
Well, of course, but, like, I mean, I always have the phobia with how much he got punished, and then he came back too quickly, and he got it fucking nearly snapped off again. I always think that all he's going to take is, like, one little tap, and then Rory might die. You know what I mean?
Dude, once you break your nose a couple times, it breaks.
It's never the same.
So easy.
But then my homeboy's leg looks like it's going to be the same way. I don't care what sort of dark arts you employ to repair that leg. All right, you can go to Panama and stick it with all the MCC stem cells or whatever that Mel Gibson was pumping his dad with. I don't care. That leg ain't going to be the same. Like,
that was brutal.
It was.
You know what else was brutal?
Fucking insane.
You know what else was brutal? Rory on the mic.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like I have a human growing out of my leg right now.
Hey man, you know what? The amount of head trauma and just he was basically in a car accident, Tommy. And I know that you probably could have played cribbage after yours because you're that sort of weird, tough motherfucker. However, not all human beings are made Tommy tough. I'm not even being facetious right now. He can't get a good promo when he's completely within his own faculties.
But he was always like that, though. It makes me wonder if maybe he was kind of on the spectrum.
He very well could.
Or if he's just out there. When George St. Pierre is talking you up, I tell you, Rory is, he had what it takes to be a champion, and I'm very happy to see Rory holding the belt in Bellator.
That was a far better impression than what we've had on the show prior. I just, I know I'm taking a shot at him when he's not on, but Jesus Christ, that we've had some rough goes trying to impersonate our favorite Canadian fighter of all time. You acquitted yourself far better. But what's next? I mean, they're gonna give him like a straight up rematch, like automatically?
I'm telling you, I think Lima's gonna ask for a rematch, and I think he should.
He deserves it. He earned it.
Yeah,
he almost won that fight.
Yeah, I think he should. It would do a ton of buys, and that's when you make them the actual headliner. And honestly, that could be a Bellator pay-per-view. That could be a Bellator pay-per-view for sure.
It should.
Yeah. I definitely think they should have a rematch. Because, Lima's no slouch. He's a tough dude. He showed how tough he was because he took Rory's onslaught on the ground. Rory was hitting him with great elbows. And, Rory's wrestling is just – the guy trains his GSP, so his wrestling is going to be top-notch.
It's going to be another level, exactly. Yeah. For so what your background is, if you train with GSP, it's like suddenly you're at like the next tier, even though you didn't actually wrestle at that tier, I feel like. So if you wrestle in the high school and then you train with GSP, suddenly you're a college level wrestler, in my opinion. I really feel that. And then if you're decent in college and suddenly your main training partner is GSP, well then you're gonna start taking a lot of fuck ton of people down,
Uh-huh.
Craziness, man.
So we'll be excited to see that again, hopefully. So now, speaking of wrestling, let's round it off with the main event fight: Chael Sonnen and Quentin Rampage Jackson. I know a lot of people were saying, "How is this the main event?" Blah 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 blah. They're two old guys. Fuck that. Fuck that. I loved this fight. I'm a huge Chael Sonnen fan, which is weird because I hate shit talkers, but Chael Sonnen is a goddamn wrestling fan, and so am I. Like I said to you, I have the 25th anniversary of Raw playing on the big screen TV that they put in my hotel room because they found out that I was a celebrity from the Pride Rule podcast.
Oh,
so they
Jesus
put
Christ.
a 4K LG plasma TV here in my room. I'm watching that, and I'm thinking of Chael right now. For Chael jumping up to heavyweight, now we've seen him fight light heavyweight. He went in there at heavyweight. He looked good, body-wise. He did not look heavy. Rampage looked a little heavy, but again, the guy's fighting heavyweight. But Chael did work, man. Chael did work. His wrestling is still as good as ever. He took Rampage down like nothing. He was besting him on the feet. I'm excited to see who Chael's going to get in either Frank Mir or Fedor. I would love to see Chael Sonnen and Fedor. What about you?
I would love to see that only because I've seen what Frank Mir looks like right now, and it's a little scary. What did I tell you when you showed it to me? I was like, he's not just having some kangaroo meat. He ate the whole goddamn kangaroo, and maybe part of the koala.
He looks pregnant.
And shout out to all my pregnant mamas out there. You're beautiful, and you're carrying life. However, when you're a dude, and you're not, and you still look like that, it's not a good look. And your profession is a physical activity on par with fighting. Like, nah, man, you can't. He just looks, I don't know. He's getting paid, though.
It's not like this is a new division for him. You know what I mean? It's not like this is a new division for him. Now, I know in the past, cardio wasn't always Frank Mir's thing. But, man, You
It
cannot
looks
go
like
in there
somebody
with
could ride
Fedor
him like a fucking
with a
motorcycle,
gun.
Tommy. Okay? It looks like somebody could put wheels on him and ride him like a motorcycle. It's a terrible
Motorcycle?
joke. I realize,
Is that
but
motorcycle? He's taking a shot at his accident that derailed his career?
maybe a trike, maybe. All right? He looks big in the back like a trike too right now. He is enormous. And it's making me pissed that we're seeing this fight like 17 years too late. I was a super fan of both. All right? But I don't think they could. You said that you missed Fedor's groundwork. I think they're going to get gassed after the first 3 minutes, Chief.
Not Fedor. Fedor looks good.
Well, yeah.
Fedor looks good.
Even being underneath that behemoth, that's a big man. Frank Mir's a big guy, and say what you want, but he knows how to use that weight.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm excited about because it's definitely going to get to the ground. So I'm excited to see Frank Mir's jiu-jitsu against Fedor Sambo. But whoever wins, I'm kind of leaning towards Chael to beating either one of them. I really am. I mean, maybe not Fedor so much, but Mir definitely.
I think he beats Mir.
Mir definitely.
I think he does. I know. Yeah, he does the Abu Dhabi stuff now. He's a purple
I know
belt.
Chael gets beat with submissions a lot. I know that. Like that's Chael's Achilles heel. He gets submitted, but I think Chael, conditioning wise, will beat Mir.
Conditioning wise, and he's been working on it. As much as people want to hate on him, and he is getting up there towards the twilight of the career, he's putting in some work up there. I think in Gracie Barra, Seattle, Oregon, like somewhere up there, right? Like he's Fabiano Schirmer is his jiu-jitsu coach, who's legit as fuck and big. So it's not like he's suddenly learning and feeling and looking good against a tiny black belt. Like he's looking good. He's doing good things here. I think at least.
Yeah, I'm. It's weird. I'm excited for this Grand Prix just because I keep bringing it back to wrestling. Bellator is the WCW. They're the WCW, and the UFC is WWE, and everybody watched the WCW, even though they had the older wrestlers. People are still watching Bellator because what happened?
It was exciting as shit. I still watched it.
Yes. And Bellator is getting really exciting. I mean, their younger talent is making it exciting, and the older talent is like the icing on the cake. Because you're seeing these guys that and you're seeing the fights that you wanted to see. Yes, maybe it's 10 years too late, but you're still getting to see fights that you want to see. Anytime Fedor is in there, I don't care. As long as the guy can do it, I'm happy to see him fight. It sucks to see him lose, but I'm happy to see him fight. So we will definitely be excited for that fight when it happens. I'm excited to see whoever wins that fight to go to Chael. Let's jump on over to the other card that was going on, the UFC.
The other card. So, I like how you're already giving it like the 1 and the 1A or the 1B. Sort of like.
Well, you know what? I mean, the main events lived up to some pretty good hype. For the co-main event, the main event lived up to some pretty good hype.
Oh,
and the
tremendous.
fights that we picked, honestly, the only fight that we had wrong was the Shane Burgos fight. That was the only fight that you and I had wrong.
Hurricane Shane, man, he
got knocked out.
Yeah, he didn't look too phenomenal. And that was one of the beginning fights, one of the earlier fights of the night. So I'm like, man, did I? It's one of those where it's like you pick it so wrong, and you're just like, do I suck at this? Do I know what the fuck I'm doing?
You were right with Gian. Gian looked really good.
Yeah, he did. People shit on his on the match. Everywhere I've read have been like, oh, I got put to sleep, this, that, and the third. Bro, the guy he was fighting was no goddamn joke. He had power that would have stopped anybody else in that division, I feel like. And, you have to dot your I's and cross your T's. And I think that, John was in a tough spot. He wanted to perform well. And any ending that gets your boy another shot in the UFC is an ending that I'm a fan of. So fuck it. Like people were trying to shit on the match, man, and I don't know why.
I don't either. I mean, Gian was throwing combos. That's what won the fight. The combos. It was pretty much even keeled. But I mean, the significant strikes were the same. The total strikes were the same. But Gian was just a more dominant fighter. And he erased the staple of he gasses out because he kept the pace.
He did. He kept the pace, and it was still smooth. It was still very, very nicely, like, like you said, he was throwing combos, he was getting it in. And, I'm excited to see, this kind of bought him, obviously, another, new life, another shot. I think he's a threat to anybody in that division. I really think he is. I'm not trying to, blow smoke. The division needs him. That division really, really needs folks, to be up and comers, and I think he has a good camp and a good mix of skills, where I think he could do some damage, man. I really do.
I do too. I mean, do I see a championship run? I mean, I really don't know, but he's a good enough fighter. He's active on social media. Dana White had him on looking for a fight. You know what I mean?
He's a personable guy.
He's definitely a guy that you could promote.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's a personable dude. I think it's funny. I think he stays in his lane, and he's self-effacing, and it's funny for that reason. I feel like anyway. Like I could see, he stays humble, but he's still a badass. Like it's a great sweet combo that way, in my opinion.
And he's an all-around nice guy. He's just an all-around nice guy. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do for him next. Hopefully he gets a decent name. So we're going to stick with the light heavyweight division, and Lordy B. Volkan Ozdemir and Daniel Cormier. Here's my thoughts on this fight. It looked like a guy who only has 3 fights in the UFC fighting the champion. That's what it looked like. He really posed no threat to DC at all. Even with the shots that he hit DC with. He didn't back DC up. DC kept going at it. And DC put him out. I mean,
twice.
I know we were kind of hoping like...
Stop it. All right, can we say that too? Are we official
what?
on that? Because he beat him twice. End of the first round, he had that shit locked the fuck in. There was no getting out of that. And it was funny because DC, even though he knew that he was going to run out of time, he's like, you know what? I got to let motherfuckers know that I can take his neck at any time. And Ozdemir was like, fuck it, I'm done. Gave up. He broke him at the end of that round. Cut through all his ground defense. Because this guy got
hot-shotted. He got hot-shotted.
He really did.
He didn't have enough time in the division to get that fight. Like, yes, he beat Ovince St. Preux and he beat Jim Emanuel. Ovince St. Preux went 5 rounds with John Jones. I don't know if that was a great fight for Ovince St. Preux or just a shit fight for John Jones.
I mean, I think the cocaine wasn't that good in that fight. I think that's probably why our boy didn't, So, who knows?
I said it.
He's
he's
awkward,
week.
He's this, he's that. Yeah, who knows?
We said it last week.
Yeah.
DC or John Jones makes that division a nightmare. Nobody's beaten either one of them. Not right now.
No. 0. There's nobody at 205 on the planet other than those two that make it interesting against the other, if that makes any sense. That was convoluted, but like other than those two facing off against each other.
We do have Justin Ledet dropping to 205s.
That's crazy. See, and look what he's doing. It's not from, it's quote unquote natively from that division. He's dropping down. That could give problems. But that's got hands, and he can grapple.
Yeah,
and he's tough, and he's got a mullet. I mean, all those factors add up to one badass motherfucker. At least in my opinion, you have to be badass to carry off a mullet. It's 2017. Yeah.
Yeah, so so that'll be nice for some new blood in there with Ledet. I don't know. I talked to him a couple weeks ago. They don't have an opponent lined up for him yet, but when they do have an opponent lined up, he will be back on the show.
Good.
So
I'm super excited. I can't wait.
Yes, me too. I think it's great that he's dropping to 205. I remember we talked about it. Maybe he should drop to 205 because you remember when he was on, he kept talking about dropping to fight Gokhan Saki. Remember?
Yeah, exactly. And that was something that he was really, thinking of doing, and kind of teasing out in a weird way, right? And
yeah, I don't know if it's going to be Gokhan Saki because I know Gokhan Saki was hurt, but to have him drop a 205, it's a smarter thing to do. And when we get to talking about the heavyweight main event, you'll understand a little bit more why.
Okay.
I don't know what's next for DC. I really don't. Is it Gustafsson? Is it Teixeira? What do we know?
Gustafsson is really the only person that I would be remotely interested really in seeing DC fight. What I'd still want to see more of, though, I want to see DC
and we've
move
seen
up.
it already.
Yeah, we have. We have. And it's still, in my mind, it's always a situation where it's like, what sort of Gustafsson are we going to get? I don't know. He surprises in good ways and in bad ways. Then you hear him talk crazy when he's not in competition. You know what I'm getting at. And then he looks great against folks. You could always make the argument, hey, is Teixeira just up there? Who knows? I would much rather see DC go up and wait for that last run.
And here's why we're not going to see that.
Stop it. Don't
Cain Velasquez is supposed to be coming back.
Cain did. Come on.
Oh, I'm looking at The Godfather right now. I'm looking at The Godfather right now on WWE.
What was
he's still in amazing shape, and he's still carrying hose with him.
God bless him. I was just about to ask you how the whole train's doing, and I'm glad to see that it's alive and well. See, I'm a fan. I knew exactly.
God damn.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. It's a big night for me right now.
He's on that HGH. But
we almost canceled this show for the Raw 25th anniversary.
It's the 25th. It's the 25th anniversary. It only comes around.
Yeah, but
once every 25 years.
Yeah, he's not going to go up to heavyweight because of Cain. He won't. He should, but he won't.
Cain has more fucking wrong with his body than Stephen Hawking at this point.
Yeah,
Come
absolutely.
On. All right? We're going to see a shell of Cain. Whatever Cain shows up in that building, I would be... Don't get me wrong. I'd be very excited to see him come back and be Cain Velasquez. He's not going to be, though. It's near impossible.
No, he can't. He can't.
No.
Well, which Cain are you talking about? Are you talking about above sea level Cain or... what are we talking about?
I'm talking about the Cain that made you reconsider your life as a pro fighter if you were in that weight class.
Well, let's put it this way: when that was Cain, I wasn't married yet, and I was married in 2011.
Yeah, that's accurate. We had another administration in power, for God's sakes. We could go for days. The Supreme Court was leaning the other way. There's just a ton of shit though. Back when Cain was Cain, Pepperidge Farm.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. DC should go up. At least take a couple fights at heavyweight. Something.
Please.
Keep the guy busy.
And
you have.
And then when Cain gets injured again, right? And then when Cain gets injured again, he'll be ready to have a somewhat legitimate. I don't even think he needs like a legitimate, quote unquote, ramp to the heavyweight division. We're talking with all these lighter weight guys. Hey, let's have super fights. Hey, let's step up and fight. DC's fought at heavyweight already. And he's done some damage at heavyweight already. So if he wanted to say, hey, tomorrow I'm done with this cutting bullshit. I want to fight Stipe now that he's, taking the boogeyman out behind the woodshed, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes. He deserves. He should. Would it finally make him a draw? I don't know. That's the one thing I don't fucking understand.
You know what? DC actually was favored by the fans. He was loved this time out. He wasn't booed. He was loved this time out.
But is that a faction of the fact that he's fighting Slender Man that nobody fucking knows? Right?
Well, no, because if you remember, for a time, he was booed no matter who he fought.
That's true. You got a fair point.
He was booed no matter who he fought.
You know.
He's finally getting the respect that he deserves, but there's nobody else to fight. I mean, you put him in there against Gustafsson, it's not going to draw the interest. It's not going to draw the interest.
And then what exit plan do you have for the belt after that? Say
exactly.
DC wins, we're still back at the drawing board with the same question we're having now. Gustafsson wins. What the fuck do you do? Gustafsson's not young. And he might be younger than DC, I think, by a fair margin, but I think like fight years and just like, I don't know. Gustafsson strikes me as one of those, existential guys that could sit there and quote philosophy to you. And I don't know. I'm never sold on the fact that he really, really, really wants to fight. I wish I was always sold on that because he's a tremendous fighter. I think he's the only one that could feasibly say he has a win over John Jones. You can make that argument. We could go back and forth. That was a close as fucking nails fight. So, yes, talent's there, but I'm not intrigued. Have DC move up, have Gustafsson fight somebody else for that belt, the vacated belt, and then fucking go from there. Build it out from there.
I look at it this way. If Gustafsson gets a shot at DC and somehow wins, no matter who Gustafsson fights next, he's going to lose the belt on his first events. He's just not there.
No, I think that there's other people that match up very, very well against him that have no business matching up against DC, which is the logjam that we're discussing here, at length. It's the truth. DC needs to move up, and then we need to see what happens with whatever's left at 205.
And the sad part is, this is the kind of logjam that you just can't help. It's not like the Conor logjam where he just doesn't want to fight. This is the kind of logjam where you have a dominant champion that the only other person who can take him out is probably going to be on a 4-year suspension.
No,
and if
let's
he
not.
was champion, you have the same logjam.
Don't put that negativity out, Ricky Bobby. All right, let's light a candle. Let's hope that our boy gets that 1 year.
But no matter what, you have the same logjam, whether it's John Jones or DC holding the belt.
And I'd be calling for John Jones to move up in the same fashion. In fact, if he ever does come back, I hope that him and DC meet at heavyweight. Just wherever the hell DC happens to be, if he's still actively fighting by the time Jones gets back, they need to run that back.
No, DC said it on UFC Unfiltered with Matt Serra and Jim Norton that he's done fighting at 40. He's 39.
Yikes.
Yeah, he's 39.
So this needs to be some Kimbo Slice shit, is what you're telling me. That's all I'm getting from this. They need to fight for their bread in fucking Miami, okay? Or in a padded room and have Sean Gannon be the fucking referee. I
was thinking you were going to say Joe Duffy.
Oh, stop it! Jesus Christ! No. Let's. I don't want to besmirch. There's enough of that going on. All right, this is a unification show, Tommy. I don't want to. Come on, man. I'm a change man.
I don't know what they do with DC. I mean, I don't think this should hurt Volkan Ozdemir at all because he's just a guy that was given the shot because there was nobody else. I think Ozdemir is still a problem for that division, for sure. He's definitely got dynamite in his hands, but, he ain't getting a title as long as DC's there. And like we said, that goes for pretty much everybody in that division. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him next. I hope he doesn't get in that funk to where, it kind of hurt him a little bit. Maybe he's thinking about, if that just wasn't his night, am I really good enough for all this? I hope he doesn't get in that funk. I don't think he will. So for Ozdemir, who do you give him? Who do you give him?
A good lawyer. I think he's got that on his mind now. I think he needs the Kardashian. I don't know, bro. I don't know what the hell is happening there. I think that's still hanging over his head. And then, you have him fight people till you can build them up again. And I was never so. I hate to say this, and it's gonna sound like, oh hey, in hindsight, of course, but I was never sold on him that much to begin with. I was always like, you know what, he's earned what he's earned, but it's a thin division, and you're not quite at the heavyweight level where every shot that has any remote pepper on it can drop a human being, as we know. But you're getting up there at 205. You're kind of up there. All right,
yeah.
If you and it's not to take away anything from his stand-up, but there's nothing in his pedigree that made me think that he could wrestle worth a fucking goddamn. And I know you felt the same way, Tommy. That was even before. That's even before he fought. One of the hardest wrestling tests in two divisions in DC. The other one being John Jones. Maybe there's a couple at heavyweight, say. Like a straight-up wrestling, maybe a Brock Lesnar if he's considered part of the division, whatever you want to say. But, what is he, from Switzerland? Isn't he?
Yep.
Wasn't he like a Swiss kickboxer? The fuck, they don't wrestle in Switzerland. All right, they got bank accounts and they hide, Nazi money in Switzerland. Like, they don't wrestle in fucking Switzerland, okay? No, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. So you're going to tell me that suddenly he's going to be the exception to the rule? He's going to be the anomaly? Yes. Can he kickbox? Of course. He could knock me right the fuck out. God bless him. All right, that's not saying much. But the pedigree, that part of the world, if he was going to be good at something, what was it going to be, Tommy? Fighting with a pike, if we're going historical. All right? I mean, but aside from that, it's probably going to be, good at protecting the Pope. I get it, Tommy. I get it. But he's also going to be good at stand-up kickboxing. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. So, I mean, I wouldn't trust his wrestling against people that are far worse wrestlers than DC. I just don't think anybody's really had that opportunity. He can blitz. But you're going to tell me that you're going to blitz somebody that's faced John Jones twice? There's nothing in DC that was going to shirk from that.
Yeah, no,
I know our colleague says that he was scared. I don't know.
He did catch DC with a good shot, but
for sure,
that was it.
but DC's been in there. DC's been in there with fucking Rumble Johnson, who I
DC
feel
got kicked in the face by Rumble Johnson. DC took Rumble Johnson's best punch.
Square kick in the goddamn face. His shin cracked across 3/4 of that side of his head, and he did stumble.
But wait, and even with the John Jones knockout, he didn't drop when he got kicked in the face.
No,
he was still up
kept,
after John Jones
exactly.
kicked him in the face.
And then he got tripped, right? And then he got tripped, technically.
Yes. That's what it was.
So,
he got tripped, and then that was it.
And you know what? And it was against arguably one of the greatest fighters of our generation. Maybe somebody that we'll be talking about like, God damn, I wish he'd kept his shit
together.
Gear
or no gear.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And again, it's one of those things where you could look at everybody in pride and be like, well, you have to have the gear or no gear argument. However, with John Jones, it's a tremendous talent. Ridiculous talent. So he's been in there with everybody. The fuck was Ozdemir going to do? I was excited to see it. I still paid to watch it. Not going to lie there. But I mean, if I had the stones or if he had a gun to my head, I would have bet my life savings on DC. Probably made a little bit of money. Didn't, though. Too much of a
Yeah, I mean, look, we were hoping that maybe there was a change of the guard. But hey,
But not Ozdemir. I'm hoping
to.
I want there to be a change in the guard, Tommy. We're all about, sitting back and watching great fights and seeing different dynamics and different matchups, because right now it's going to be stale at 205 if DC doesn't move up. However, I didn't want to see it be Ozdemir because I knew I knew fucking Teixeira could possibly do something to him. Like if he remembered that he's a grappler, you get me? Like there's huge gaping holes in this guy's game.
We'll see what unfolds in that light heavyweight division. So let's get on.
Oh boy.
To the fight that everybody was talking about. I'm going to go on a little tangent here, if you don't mind, Omar.
Go ahead.
Because, that night and these past 2 days, I find myself, and I don't know why I do it to myself, arguing with these idiots. And they're probably Conor McGregor fans. Because they're idiots. They don't know shit.
Come on.
They don't know shit.
Jesus. We want to keep some of them. They keep the lights on, Tommy. We want to keep some of them here, all right?
No, these aren't the type of people that listen to our show, and I'm going to tell you why they're not the type of people that listen to our show, because they know absolutely, positively zero. I'll tell you one of them. This was before the fight even happened. Some idiot was on social media doing a fight breakdown. And his fight breakdown was Stipe Miocic. I'm going to say his name right, unlike a lot of other podcasts. Miocic needs to go out there in the first round and knock out Francis, because if he does not knock him out in the first round, he has no shot. That was his breakdown.
Wait, really?
I swear on my kids, that was his breakdown. So that's not the kind of listener I want listening to this show. Because you can't teach a moron mixed martial arts. You can't. You can't.
I mean, Junie Browning technically knew mixed martial arts. I'm bleeding devil's advocate here, all right? There's some morons.
Well, do you remember his stint on The Ultimate Fighter?
It was abysmal. He was terrible. I mean, but technically...
He went the distance with a guy who mailed in for a black belt.
Yikes.
In Rolando.
Oh,
he wasn't a true black belt.
Yeah.
So,
I mean...
Stipe fought the absolute perfect fight, and I'm going to tell you why. He didn't just go to his wrestling. He stood with Ngannou. He stood with the Predator. He was catching him, standing. He took Ngannou's game away from him. He wasn't putting his head in Ngannou's chest like you and I thought he was going to do. He stayed in the pocket with him. Did Stipe get caught with a few? Yeah. Fuck, guys, I was closed at the end of the fight. In the scrambles, he got his head the hell out of there. Some of them were pretty goddamn close, but he got his head the hell out of there. And then what did he do? He put Francis on the ground. Why? Because he knew Francis had no ground game. We all knew Francis had no ground game.
We didn't want to believe it. We didn't want to believe it, but we knew, Thomas. Like, we knew.
And here's the other thing. That fight was so boring. Why didn't he end it? Okay, people. Stipe threw 244 strikes. 200 of them landed. These are heavyweights, people. That is a lot of strikes for big gentlemen. Yes, they're going to be tired. Well, why didn't he try and finish it with a submission? Because if Francis was able to slither out of a rear naked choke, get in Stipe's guard, now you have this monster who cuts to 265. So that night he was probably 280, maybe even more than that. You don't want that on top of you throwing punches down. Stipe fought the exact fight that he needed to fight. He took this man 5 rounds to prove to the world that he's a one-hit wonder. Now, this is nothing against Francis. It's not. The guy's only been training for a few years. And he was hot-shotted. Title shot. Kind of like Volkan Ozdemir, but Ngannou's got a little bit better fights on his record than Ozdemir. Okay? He does.
Yes, he absolutely does. The biggest one of which is the most recent one. And it was also, they both had exciting fashion wins, but there was nobody that Ozdemir went through of the caliber of an Alistair Overeem, at least in my opinion, and he didn't drop him that way.
No, and you know what?
Yeah.
Overeem put it on Stipe a little bit when they fought.
Yeah, he did.
Put it on him enough to where he was able to get him in the guillotine. You know, he did drop Stipe. He did drop him, and Ngannou knocked him out in one shot. One punch.
Scary.
So it's not like everybody said, oh, hype train derailed. The guy's not fucking derailed. Stipe is the best heavyweight in UFC history. And that says a lot. Because you look at some of the guys who held that belt. Randy Couture for 1.
Yeah.
And
Kane.
3 defenses is the record. 3.
Right? Kane held that belt. We just talked about him.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I think there's that argument, and it's a salient argument. He's the best ever.
Healthy Kane lost that belt to Verdum. Healthy Kane lost that to Verdum.
Yeah.
Stipe knocked Verdum out going backwards in Brazil.
It's tremendous. I remember that fight. I remember where I was when I was watching that fight. Yeah.
And he still gets no respect. Stipe still gets none. And it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. You know, here's the other thing, and I thought this was absolutely wonderful. I mean, the performance he did was wonderful. It was. He played the right game. He put Ngannou on the ground, and he held him there. Ngannou had no explosiveness left to him.
One thing I wanted to ask you,
he grinded him out, right?
I wanted to run by you. No, he absolutely did, and he just kind of put it on him, big brothered him, really, really just put the smush on him. What I wanted to ask you is this: what did you think about how Herb Dean reffed that fight? Give me your thoughts on that. Because I have my own opinion that I'll share. I think Herb Dean
did the right thing.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have stopped it. He shouldn't have stopped it. Ngannou was defending himself enough. He was defending himself enough. Holy shit. We're being followed by the UFC medical coordinator right now. Shout out to Jasmine Thompson.
Shout out's powerful. Doing the Lord's work in a fight sport right there.
I think Herb Dean did the right thing. Because anybody with more experience would have found a way to explode out of that. You know what I mean? Stipe was hitting him to the body. The shots that he was hitting him to in the face, Francis was defending enough. So it was really just on Francis. I think Stipe got to his confidence. His confidence level went down. And that's what you're going to expect, man. Like, look at Edson Barbosa against Khabib. Habib. Yeah. I'm going to say his name right. Habib.
Habib. Sorry. Say it the right way.
Khabib.
Khabib.
You know, should that fight have been stopped? You know what I mean?
Yikes.
It was far worse than what Francis was getting.
My only beef with the refereeing was not the stoppage or the lack thereof, but in some instances, I felt like Herb Dean was trying to do too much. It almost seemed like, you know, there was a couple of spots there where, as a grappler, you kind of realize, okay, he's making him carry his weight. I don't think he was stalling. I think he was, you know, actively just trying to break this guy's will down. I mean, Stipe. And when he was getting that 3-quarter Nelson and kind of giving it to to our boy that way. But I heard a lot of Herb Dean during that fight. I don't know. It just started being
what
annoying.
Herb Dean was doing was right, where he's telling him, Stipe, you got to work from here. Because there were spots where Stipe wasn't punching, and as soon as he told him, Stipe, you got to work from here, he started working. He was punching. He was elbowing. He was hitting Francis in the body. He was doing everything right. Because here's what people aren't getting. Yes, Francis's takedown defense was abysmal. He couldn't explode out. But this is a guy who is a giant man who could knock you out with one punch. And what was Chris talking about? It's the scrambles that are the most dangerous. And you saw that because the spots where Ngannou did get away, he threw that uppercut, and he was catching Stipe as Stipe was just far enough away to where it was catching him, but not catching him to knock him out. And like I said, he closed Stipe's eye. So the power was still there. You got to do what you have to do to neutralize a guy like this. And, I mean, he wrote the blueprint on how to beat Francis. Now, how many heavyweights are going to be able to do that? Not many. Not many. Verdum likes to stand him back. He does. I mean, you're going to be stupid enough to get in Verdum's guard. Good night, Irene. You're done.
But he's fallen in love with standing and banging, which I don't know if that's always the best way to win and keep belts, but that's just me.
So I think Ngannou beats Verdum. If Stipe was not in the UFC right now, Ngannou would be the UFC heavyweight champion.
Wow.
Without question.
Really?
Without question.
Jesus.
But do you want to know what I love the most about this fight? Other than the fight itself? When Dana White went to put the belt around Stipe,
yeah,
Stipe took the belt away from him, gave it to his trainer, and let his trainer put the belt on him. And this was a big thing on Twitter the past couple days. And Sophia Helwani and Aljamain Sterling were liking and retweeting my tweet when they were talking about this. Because, they were like, this is savage and stuff like that. This is why it was beautiful. The UFC brass, and I think it's more WME than it is anybody else, was over-promoting Ngannou like he was the champ. And basically writing Stipe off. Basically writing him off. The crew that stuck behind Stipe the most was his team. So it was only right that they put that belt around Stipe's waist. It was beautiful. I don't think it was disrespectful. Not in the least bit. It was disrespectful on the UFC's end.
I think it was merited, like you're saying. You're saying, well, you're hitting all the notes, bro. Like, the UFC, the memes that I've seen are maybe you caught the guy at the wrong time, but there's a bunch of memes where it's like you see Dana and he looks sad that Stipe's winning. You know the ones I'm talking about where he's like, Jesus, he's holding his head in his hands.
Yeah.
When Stipe's giving him the business. There's a couple of funny ones where, he's on life support and he's got the Cameroonian flag on his head. That was a funny one. But we all know the narrative that the UFC wanted to have play out here. All right? And, to bring it back to the anniversary of Raw, why did Vince McMahon not want to buy – Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWE, why did he not want to buy the UFC back in the day when he had the opportunities? Like, you can't – this is built on stars, and you can't build anything on stars when you can't decide the outcome. So he said, no, thank you. What would have made the UFC potentially billions of dollars down the road, having an African champion and having him blaze trails in places that they haven't made any headway into? Wouldn't the UFC love a lighter weight Chinese champion right now? They give their left nut for a Chinese champion, right? Like a legit either from Hong Kong or they would absolutely to be able to go and then, slap the floor with ONE FC, blaze trails in China. They are loving Habib doing work. And they would love nothing more and Khabib to win against Tony, and then have him march into Moscow as the champion and sell out arenas, and help the mob launder money there. You feel me? But they were so blatant about it that I think that chip that it put on Stipe's shoulder that he already naturally carries there, that quote-unquote immigrant mentality that I love that he embodies. Chief.
Even though he's not an immigrant at all, Joey Diaz.
But he's got that mentality. I get that, but it's the mentality.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. He's a hard-working, he's an American hero. The narrative here, you cannot find an easier marketing sell, in my opinion, than Stipe. Family man.
Oh, you're 100% right, dude. That's what
fireman.
That's what I was saying
American
on the
hero.
show last week.
It's crazy. It's
this
ridiculous.
guy embodies American hero.
Yeah,
he works at 2 fire departments, so essentially he's working a full-time job.
Absolutely.
On top of
while
being
fighting.
the UFC heavyweight champion.
Absolutely. Loyal to Cleveland. Will not leave Cleveland, even though I'm positive that any gym in the world would love for that crazy maniac to walk in the doors, right? He has his family, he has his community.
Could you imagine him with Matt Serra's jiu-jitsu?
Oh my Christ. He would have wrapped up Ngannou and choked the fucking shit out of our boy. There was a bunch of times, especially with that setup that he already likes. You and I both know. There's starches for days if he wanted them. If he felt confident enough.
He could have finished it if he wanted to. I don't think he wanted to. I think he wanted to take that thing 5 rounds, and he wanted to bash Ngannou for 5 rounds to smash it in the UFC's face.
I can see it. They disrespected him
like, because he knows he can
utterly.
finish it. Like, you heard Joe Rogan
Yeah.
through the entire time where Stipe had him, where Ngannou was basically turtled up against the cage.
Yeah.
Stipe could have went for his back any time that he wanted to, and he just wanted to sit there and beat him and beat him and beat him. He wanted to break him, and he did. He wanted to break him, and he did. But here's
it was crazy.
What's kind of pissing me off, and I love Kareem. He's our brother from a darker mother. I love him to death. But when he said that Ngannou is going into obscurity now, I don't think that that's right. I don't think that's a right statement at all. I think that the top 2 guys in that heavyweight division are always going to be Francis and Stipe until Stipe's gone. I don't think there's any other heavyweight in that division that's going to be able to take what Ngannou's got. I don't, because there hasn't been. You know what I mean? Ngannou knocked out the number 1 contender in Overeem in under 3 minutes when it took Stipe a couple rounds to do it. So I think, it's just that, it's just that what are you going to do factor, just like with the light heavyweight. There's nobody there that's going to beat DC or John Jones. I don't think there's anybody at heavyweight that's going to beat Stipe Miocic. I don't. What do you think?
DC, I think, beats Ngannou. That's my take.
I don't know.
I do.
I don't know.
That wrestling.
Here's why I don't know.
That wrestling, bro.
DC is hittable. And I think if Ngannou hits him with a straight or a hook, DC is going to go wobbly.
I think DC's hittable because he's fighting at 205. Unless I'm doing a little revisionist history, and please check me. I know you will. When he fought heavyweight, I don't think he did as much. Maybe it's because he didn't think he had the hands and he wants to show them off, I guess.
Not to cut you off, but we got the club going into the ring with DX and Scott Hall. Continue.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's wild business. And I'm going to cut myself off. We have a caller. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Let's bring him on. Caller, you're
on.
Aloha,
fellas. Aloha, guys. How you doing? How's everything?
Oh, we got Mike.
No, just calling in. I wanted to catch you before the end of the show, but just piggybacking on what Tommy just said about Francis. there's nothing more the UFC would love right now for him to stay relevant in the heavyweight division. You can get yourself 2-3 fights out of those guys. I feel like that's why Dana was so upset he was getting worked, because it's like, how do you even justify, putting him back in there again without, now he's open. He fights DC, he fights whoever, and if he doesn't win, you thought you had Ali Frazier, and you just have, nothing.
You have Czech Congo
2.0. With Ngannou, it's great because of the story. The storyline behind the guy. 5 years ago he's homeless, and now he's fighting in the UFC. I don't think this takes anything away from him. He lost to the best.
in a world where entertainment is what's actually valued over ability, sometimes he just like, I don't want to see that fight again. I'm like, I can't wait for them to have a rematch. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like if they would have turned it into a Frankie and Maynard situation, 5-6 years ago, and you can have those two carry the heavyweight division for the next 2 years, that would have been the bread and butter for those guys. That's what Dana was hoping. I'm sure he didn't care who won. I'm sure he would have liked to see a 48-47. Something. They probably even would have liked some controversy. An eye poke, or phantom eye poke, something to just give a reason to watch a second fight. And now it's kind of like, okay, that was a good try.
Well, what I think we see now is Francis versus Verdum. That's what I think we see now. Because they got to give Francis to somebody. Stipe is probably going to take some time off, which, he deserves it. He deserves some time off. So if you want to keep Ngannou relevant, you got to give him a big name, and the only big name.
He's got to knock their head off. You give him a big name, and he has another fight like this against somebody else, and then he's in trouble, and the whole division's in trouble because, the other names, Verdum and all these other names, are only names that the passionate fans care about. This Ngannou, like they said, the story was amazing. Not something that any guy on the street can pick up a Sports Illustrated sitting in a dentist's office and be like, oh shit, this guy's pretty interesting. But if they don't give him a name, or if he gets a name and doesn't knock the guy's fucking head off, no one's gonna care to see him fight Stipe again. At least not in the near future.
That's why I think it's going to be Verdum. That's why I think it's going to be him. And it should be.
It's going to be the biggest name that they think he can fucking clobber.
Which is
Verdum. They don't want to put him out there
for some reason, I don't know why. It's worked for him. God bless him. But Verdum's not the type to just pull guard, jump for a takedown. He'll stand with you. If it gets to the ground, it gets to the ground, but he'll stand with you. And that's kind of what they're hoping for. And he leaves himself open enough that Ngannou will do to him what he did to Overeem easily. Easily.
Yeah, you got to get. So I know Stipe was, talking like Dana didn't respect him and stuff like that. I think Dana's just obviously, for obvious reasons, too wrapped up in the business of it. In the business of it, you don't want to see the next guy up. Just, it'd be like, imagine if Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey 5 fights before that. You know what I mean? And that wave just died. So I get why Dana was from a business standpoint just very unhappy with what was going on, because it's like the Eagles Minnesota game. Think Goodell liked that shit in the middle of the second quarter? It's a blowout already. No, they lose all their ratings. Nobody cares about that.
Well, that's the problem with them not promoting their champions, and they're promoting the contenders.
Yeah, well,
that's the problem.
There's many problems that people who have obviously we can all agree. We could sit here and talk for an hour and a half about all the shit that we collectively don't agree on over the last 10, 15 years. So it's like it's just to me it's like it is the problem, but there's so many other problems. The Reebok deal, obviously, that just doesn't go away. That keeps coming up. Because if you only have one sponsor, then there's only one voice. Whereas before, every other sponsor, who's this guy? Nike's pushing so and so, whatever. Whoever Bladehead or whatever is pushing so and so. Tap Out's pushing so and so, and you get those brands pushing guys even when they're off cycle. You get a decent name, and now it's just like if Reebok's not pushing you, and if UFC's not pushing you, they don't have any equity in a guy's name anymore. that's why Dana was upset, because Francis created his own equity, his own buzz himself, his own God bless hard work from a shitty situation. He built his own equity in his name. The UFC didn't do that for him, and so they were like, "Oh shit, we didn't put anything behind this guy, and he's going to power our division." And put him up in front of Stipe, and Stipe just makes him look homeless again.
Oh
Yeah,
boy! Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh Jesus Christ! Oh, Mike, that was savage.
It's not
I'm
like
not mad about it.
It's not like Ngannou lost to a can. He
didn't,
lost,
but
to
he also didn't win a
can.
round. He also didn't win a round.
No,
he didn't win a round. Like hypothetically, it's the same as if me and you, or one of us, or all three of us, really had gotten in the ring at the same time against Stipe. It was like, oh, okay, well, didn't win a round. It didn't didn't win a round. Like, what's even the point of watching? Oh, okay, I'm just gonna work him again. All right, it's like a fucked up sparring session.
Yeah. Well, because it was the hope that one punch could land. That's when you got a guy that's got one. When they talk about a puncher's chance, this guy has a puncher's chance. But, it just didn't go that way.
Yeah.
But I don't think it takes any. I mean, I guess it takes some shine off Ngannou, but it shouldn't take enough to where people are just like, oh, he's derailed. Oh
no, I agree. I agree.
Chance.
But if you put him in there against Verdum and he doesn't do something worth talking about against Verdum or another big name, it's going to be real hard for people to care about his next fight.
Yeah. Then it's a problem.
No matter who it's against. And
I mean,
aside from that,
we'll see. We'll see what they do with him. So, Mike, now that we have you on here, when the first Frankie and Max fight was announced, you said your allegiance lied with Frankie. Now you're changing your tune. What's going on, man?
Oh no! I'm always a Frankie Edgar fan. If he wins, I'm obviously happy for him. I'll always, when they're fighting, I'm gonna be pulling for Frankie. But I don't know, man. Some would say that a guy who's willing to pack his life in the 5 boxes and move 5,000 miles around the world is a gambling man. And the gambling side of me is not putting a penny on Frankie. Not a penny. Just.
Well,
I mean, that's not a knock on. That's not a knock on Penny. That's not a knock on him at all. It's not a knock on him at all. I really just believe Max is just that good. That good.
Yeah.
It's like 5-10 years ago. It's like 5-10 years ago. Silva.
Frankie's pretty good at beating Hawaiians. Frankie's good at beating Hawaiians.
Oh man.
I don't know if he ever fought a Hawaiian in America. Has he? Didn't they always make him and BJ fight like around the world?
No, the second fight was in Boston. Was at the TD Center.
Yeah. And then the other one was like, didn't they fight 3 times? And the other one was like in Japan or Australia or some shit.
No, the third fight was the Ultimate Fighter finale where Frankie was the coach. With that Eddie Gordon one.
I mean,
when Frankie beat BJ like he owed him money. When he beat BJ like he beat Yair Rodriguez in that fight.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think Frankie's a pushover. I literally think Max is. We're talking about Max right now. Is like talking about Anderson Silva 5-10 years ago. It's just I don't care how good the guy is. I don't care how good he's fighting. It's like they're gonna have a hard time to beat him, no matter who they are, just because he's that good.
Well,
it's not a knock on anybody else.
If Frankie does end up beating him, I think Max goes up to 155, which is where I think he should be.
That's possible.
For sure.
I mean, obviously he's only 26, 27, so there's definitely a few years of natural weight gain that he's probably fighting every time he cuts. So I don't know. I would love to see him go up to 155, but I don't. I think he's I think he's in that class of and he's fighting. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk about anybody else not fighting. And he's fighting. So I look at him. As if he can fight 2-3 times a year. I don't care if you have 2 belts. If you're defending each of them at least once a year, go ahead. Especially if you're knocking guys' heads off. So, yeah, I personally, I think if Frankie beats him, I don't know how you don't have another fight with the two of them. Really hard, just like because how do you not give Holloway a rematch if he wants one? If he loses to Frankie, especially if it's not him out there looking like Francis against Stipe.
Well, to be honest, with the the lack of I don't want to say lack of depth, but there's not much talked about in the 145 division right now.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to say lack of depth because it's a deep division, but there's just not much talked about.
Activity. There's not much. Yeah, there's not much active wise where you're like, oh, I really want to see that guy get beat the shit out of by Max Holloway. Like, I think that Frankie's going to be, at this point in his career, I think Frankie's going to be one of his toughest tests, without a doubt. But there's a 10-year difference, man. The dude's 36. He's fighting a 26-year-old who hasn't lost.
And that's city
now?
miles too. That's some hard years. You mentioned him versus Gray Maynard. I mean, all these wars he's been in.
Yeah.
Taking the toll.
I slowed down though. That's the thing.
He has not. I agree. But also when you slow down, you don't. There's no like you don't just go from fourth gear to third gear to second gear. When these guys slow down, they go from fourth right into second gear. There's no. He just steps in. Whoever it is, they just get in the ring one day and it's like, oh, he's lost a step. He didn't see that coming. When guys hit the wall,
seen that with him
in the
yet,
sport, I think they hit the wall hard.
We haven't seen that with him yet. We haven't seen that.
Yeah, no,
with
I agree.
Yet.
I agree. What I'm saying is, I agree with you. We haven't seen it, but when we do see it, we're not going to expect it. It's just going to come one day. He's just going to get in the ring and be like, oh shit, Frankie's 38 now and he's showing it. Or maybe
it's like he found the fountain of youth. That's what's weird.
Yeah. He's just.
Panama.
I mean, I don't know. I got a good friend of mine out here that he wrestled at West Virginia, so he wrestled Frankie a couple of times. He wrestled Frankie's weight class, so he wrestled him a couple of times. And just knowing what he said about knowing him personally, 15, 20 years ago, and just what he's been doing for 15, 20 years, all respect, but it's just like, at a point in time, you hit the wall. And as hard as he's been going, just with combat sports in general, like, harder than anybody else. Not harder, but as hard as anybody else, and for like 20 years now. So, you're fighting a guy who's got 10 years beat on you. It's gonna be that's tough sledding, especially when it's Max Holloway.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, we all are.
Very much so.
Quite
very,
so.
very much so.
We
But
all
no, just to clarify, my heart is still rooting for Frankie, but the pocket is definitely not. I mean, maybe when the odds if I was in Vegas and the odds came out and it was just so crazy one side, I might just throw some money down just for the sake of the odds. But I wouldn't expect to win that bet.
See, now this is another one of those fights, just like with the Ngannou and Stipe fight. Whoever wins, or I should say, whoever loses, I'm not going to be upset because I like both guys. I
just hope to see a fight and not a mugging like we saw this weekend.
I don't think we'll see that.
I hope not. I don't think so
we'll
either. Like I said, I don't think Frankie's going to get in there. He's a smart guy. I don't think he's going to get in there if he's not very confident in his ability to at least tag the guy a few times and do a couple cartwheels and whatever else he does to get away from fights. Not fights, punches. I'm sorry, he doesn't get away from fights.
It all depends.
It reminds me, But you know when you're playing like GTA, you ever play GTA 5 online and you're trying to shoot somebody and they do that roll shit out of the way and fucking roll up and they shoot. That's Frankie. Every time I watch him, I'm like, this motherfucker's fucking. Oh, I bet he's that guy because he's that guy in the ring.
He's definitely
roll away
that
and
guy
pop up and
online.
uppercut you.
Absolutely.
Roll and just roll back and you chase after him. And next thing you know, he's coming up with a freaking tiger uppercut.
And you've emptied all sorts of clips and not hit him once, and you're just like, how I have a gun.
Hit him one time in the arm, yeah.
How did this happen? Exactly. He's laughing at you. He's like, yo, I got something for you. He's stabbing you.
So,
I mean, I think it's safe to say that the winner of that fight is probably going to be fighting Brian Ortega.
If not a rematch, yeah, one or the other. It depends on how the fight goes.
Yeah. So it's a weird time right now. But I'm going to ask you both this question before we get ready to wrap this up. Let's say Frankie ends up beating Max. Does the UFC promote Frankie? Mike, I'm going to go to you first.
No. I think in a scenario in my mind that makes the most sense. Just looking at how Dana reacted to this weekend's fights, if Frankie beats him, and it's a competitive fight, and it's not something that people want to see a rematch over, they'll be promoting Holloway coming back for his crown. The dethroned new champ. Coming back to reclaim what's his. It'll be more of a old guard, new guard kind of deal, and I just how business ruins a sport. I mean, you got a 26-year-old guy who's going to be around for 10 years, and a 36-year-old guy who's almost definitely not going to be around for another 5. So from a business standpoint, you're going to always shine the better light on the younger fighter, especially like someone like Max, who has such a natural following. Just naturally being from where he's from, and not many people coming from here, and obviously winning. So I see if they fight a rematch, or if Frankie wins, they fight a rematch, and a lot of it is the quote unquote underdog story or comeback champion coming back for his learned his lesson. He's going to come back and teach the old dog one time for good, and it's going to be some shit like that.
Omar?
Which is unfortunate.
I completely agree. There's no way. Even if he beats him, Frankie, for some reason, like I feel like he, and you probably have the inside scoop on this, either one of you. I feel like he slapped somebody's mom or he talks shit about somebody. Like it's always like the brass at the UFC just never really fully got on board the Frankie bandwagon, and it sucks.
No, that's not true, because when he won the belt, they were
never
on the
pushed
Frankie bandwagon.
Yeah, but I feel like
when the Fox deal was made, he was on the Fox commercials.
No, but they're always looking to take a shit on the guy. I always felt like it took him a while. I feel like he was still undervalued as an asset for the company, and I think Mike was completely correct. They're always going to go with the younger fighter. He's got that natural built-in entire island chain behind him. Rabid fans in Hawaii, Mike will tell you. You can attest to it.
Yes, sir.
So I think you'll even a rematch, you'll somehow see, a Max get more shine. If that indeed happens. But who knows?
Yeah. All right, fellas, good talking. I'll be sure to check in closer to the important fight.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, that is in March, so we'll talk to you in another month, sir.
Or a couple of weeks. Be safe. But yeah, it's a couple weeks, right? It's only almost February. Shit, I can't ever tell. It's 75 degrees all year.
Oh, thanks.
I don't know what season it is. I got palm trees outside. I got
3 degrees here today in Virginia. I was working with a t-shirt on. I was happy.
Yeah, without a coat. I don't know. Nothing makes sense to me out here. I'm looking out my window. I got pine trees and palm trees in the same frame of my fucking sight. Nothing makes sense. It's raining on one side of my house. It's sunny on the other. It's
crazy.
And there's an active volcano about 700 feet away from your house.
Stop it. Come on.
I got a little more buffer, but yeah. But if shit hits the fan, I'm definitely in the fucking in the room. So. All right, fellas, good talking.
Well, hey, brother,
check back
thank
in
you
a few
again
weeks.
for calling.
All right, Raz, be safe.
Take care, you too.
Man. All right, Omar. Well, let's get ready to wrap this up here. I thought this was a good show. Obviously, we missed the freckle-faced happy casual.
Assassin.
I hope the 17-year-old he's with tonight was worth it.
Stop it. That's not. He's at work. He's at work. Stop.
But it's always great to hear from Mike from Hawaii.
Hell yeah.
Yes. We're global. We're getting out there. I don't have a guest lined up for next week, but as always, we'll always figure something out. But I thought this was a pretty good show. We covered some really good stuff. It was fun to cover the Bellator stuff. We don't get to do that much, but with the kind of card that they had this weekend, you couldn't not talk about it.
Tremendous. Right? Tremendous card.
So, guys, we're going to wrap this up here. For 80K Fightwear, Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu, Madama Jiu-Jitsu, and 2 Minute Warning Sports 360. We will see you guys next Monday night at 9 o'clock. I am the Reverend Tommy D. For Omar, El Profesor Sangarima, we are Pride Rules Podcast. Good night.